Welcome to IDW Transformers Comic Club. Your hosts are myself, Briag45, and Ramrod. We will be your guides, narrators, and overall storytellers through Primacy, the final chapter in the trilogy, which is preceded by Autocracy and Monstrosity. Transformers Primacy Volume 1 is the 23rd of 427 publications to the IDW Transformers 2005 to 2018 franchise.
During the events of Monstrosity, we saw an exodus of Cybertronians that wanted nothing to do with the continuing Autobot-Decepticon conflict and the ruination of Cybertron. A catastrophe triggered by Scorponok uncovered a colossal primordial horror which rampaged across Cybertron until stopped by the actions of Megatron and Grimlock. Being in no shape for a fight, the Autobots and Decepticons agreed to an uneasy peace while they recovered. A peace that cannot last. And now, Primacy. Written by Chris Metzen and Flint Dilley. Art by Livio Ramondelli. Letters by Chris Mauro. Series edits by John Barber. Cover by Livio Ramondelli. Collection edits by Justin Eisinger and Alonzo Simon. Collection design by
Gilberto Lascanos.
Primacy Volume 1. Due to the left-handed asinine actions of Scorponok during his seat of power, Megatron's Decepticon forces are at an all-time low due to the Exodus. Meanwhile, Optimus Prime decides to take a sabbatical at the Gravheron Glacier to clear his mind after the recent battle with Trypticon. Accompanying Optimus is Ironhide during the quote-unquote sabbatical. They stumble upon something giving off a large energy signature. Back at Metroplex, Iacon City Center, Cup and Ultra Magnus observe and discuss as Ratchet and Wheeljack are initiating the final stages of the energon purification treatment of the Dinobots. Meanwhile, Trypticon gives Megatron visions of primordial worlds past. As Ultra Magnus dispatches Skylinks with Hot Rod and Grimlock aboard to report on Trypticon's condition, a new horror is realized. Please join us for another exciting episode of The Transformers.
All right, so we finished up Monstrosity, and it's not long after that we start the Primacy story, and we start here with Cybertron. And as the summary told of what happened, there was an exodus and a catastrophe. So here we have a close shot of Cybertron. The rampage of a colossal primordial horror. There was a moment where the most dangerous Cybertronian alive saved the world. Now all is quiet, but the peace cannot last.
Back in Rhodian, McAdams Oil House. I don't think we've been to McAdams Oil House yet, have we?
I don't believe so. So we're back at McAdams, and you got a bunch of robots that are basically having their drink. You've got Hot Rod sparking up a conversation with an unknown bot name, while it appears that Blaster is on the TV screen giving the news. They're talking about a total information blackout, being lied to. Is the new conclave / Senate that Optimus has put together going to be any better than the old? And you've got Rodimus's old buddy giving him a hard time about wearing the Autobot badge.
Yeah, it's still sort of a eyesore, or what do you want to call it?
Ruffles some feathers, just because it's one side or the other.
Yeah, the Autobots have still got a lot of past deeds to make right and get over.
So Hot Rod leaves after already getting a hard time inside the bar, and he meets up with a friend Slinger, or was friend Slinger, both of them from Nyon, and he proceeds to give him a hard time as well, telling him that he's basically wearing a disgrace of a badge also. And Hot Rod, tells him, I had to do what I had to do to take care of Zeta Prime's massacre. The people that were there that died were going to die at the hands of Zeta. So at least it was by the hands of Rodimus. And of course, Slinger's not having any of that, and he thinks he's on the right side of history here, and he takes up the Decepticon symbol, and then walks off, basically threatening Hot Rod to watch his back.
Now, which character did you say Slinger was?
This guy right here is Slinger, and I was just kind of wondering if maybe Slinger later becomes Slug Slinger. I think Slug Slinger is a Decepticon.
Yeah, he is.
I just wonder if maybe he changes his name now that he's a Decepticon, just to amusing.
Yeah, I wonder how often they change their names. You know, they join a faction and they decide, I want a different name, different moniker, because I know that there's a few popular ones that's going to be coming up in a few stories.
The Grav Heron Glacier, southern polar region.
So this is where you were talking about Optimus taking a sabbatical. Him and Ironhide go exploring, basically to help clear his mind, try to figure some stuff out. With him being still freshly off of Orion Pax and becoming Prime, he's probably just doing basically a workout routine, a patrol routine to help. It's kind of those old habits, as an officer, probably what he would do to kill some time and clear his head.
Yeah, this is one hell of a thing to do to clear your head. This is like something that people don't do if they want to survive or live.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's really trying to stretch his limits.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that we do have Ironhide with him. You're starting to see a pattern with Ironhide being by his side a lot here in these early stories.
So they get to the top of the glacier, and immediately Ironhide senses some sort of large energy signature out in the distance, and warns Optimus they're not alone.
Hey, boss! I'm detecting something out there!
So Optimus basically warns him, stay alert, could be anything.
I do enjoy the art through here with the snow, and I like the way they have drawn Optimus and Ironhide through here.
Yeah.
Still a little strange on the facial art, but still, the art is definitely picking up in this series.
Yeah, it's a little bit different because normally we won't expect snow on Cybertron.
Metroplex, Icon City Center.
So we've jumped back to Metroplex, and here we've got Cup and Ultra Magnus and basically the medical and science team trying to cure the Dinobots of the crazy energon that was turning them into beasts. And in comes Rodimus, fresh out of the academy. Or at least they say fresh out of the academy. He's really just got done at the bar. But he's fresh out of his academy training.
Yeah, because we have not seen him. I remember Briag45 making a comment. I wonder where Hot Rod is now. So after we saw him at the Insurgents during Autocracy, we didn't really see him in Monstrosity. So that whole time he's been in the Autobot Academy.
So in here they're watching Grimlock, the last of the Dinobots, go through the process of being cleaned up.
That kind of made me feel like he was the hardest one to cure.
Yeah, Cup makes a comment here about the corruption ran deep within his circuits.
Man, look at the new body of Grimlock, man. I mean, we're used to seeing new bodies for Megatron and Optimus / Orion Pax, but it's the first time we've kind of seen a new body for another Cybertronian, I think.
Yeah. He looks like he's feeling good, and he says that he's feeling good or even better. Here you've got the medic team and Hot Rod and Ultra Magnus kind of admiring that he's looking healthy and good.
Right here we have Hot Rod and Grimlock having some words. Things are not looking pretty between the two of them. Grimlock tells Hot Rod,
just because we wear the same badge doesn't mean we're the same.
And I think whereas Hot Rod has been through a lot in Nyon, and I think he was the leader of his men over there, and he went through a lot. Grimlock can't relate to that. You know what I mean? I mean, there has to be respect is not given; it's earned.
Yeah, and neither one of them have walked in each other's shoes, whereas Grimlock has done all the hard and dirty stuff, like undercover Navy SEAL type stuff, but even dirtier. Whereas Hot Rod, he did everything he could to protect the bots he knew and loved in Nyon. And he's also got a bit of a religious aspect to him, whereas I don't believe Grimlock does. They don't really talk about Grimlock and whether he believes or doesn't believe in the Matrix or any of the past. But they seem like they would be kind of polar opposites, but also in the same boat for having enough conflict in their life.
Meanwhile, amidst the ruins of Harmonex,
So here we have Trypticon, down and out, Seekers flying overhead. And Megatron is basically trying to strike up a conversation with Trypticon now that the spark of Pentius has been inserted in him. Megatron seems like he's basically, giving him orders, telling him he's slept long enough, slept through all these years, and it's basically time to get up. And he kind of summarizes back about Scorponok sought to unleash primal fury. He didn't know how to actually use this weapon. So here Megatron vows,
This day shall be ours. So swears Megatron.
So he's basically planning on using Trypticon, a Titan, as his ultimate weapon against the Autobots on the planet. So Trypticon actually does wake up and starts speaking to him, and he's got this green outline around his speech bubbles, suggesting that it's not quite Trypticon. It's a little bit of Pentius, a little bit of Trypticon, both. And of course, Megatron still feels Pentius's presence just from the malice that was from the spark of Pentius when he had it inside of him on Junkion. So, and Trypticon greets him as Wanderer, which Trypticon wouldn't know that. That would definitely be Pentius.
Now, right here, we've talked before about what makes a transformer. The brain unit, the spark, and what the transformation cog. Is that the three things?
Yeah, that's supposed to be the Holy Trinity.
Yeah. So here we're seeing evidence that, and I don't know if this has come up before or not, but evidence that the spark has some kind of memory to it, where normally you would think that the brain is where all the memory goes, and then the spark is more like a soul, but there is some kind of memory in the spark.
Yeah, I think overall the spark is really like a soul, and it contains everything of everything, whereas the brain module would probably do most of the functioning and thinking for the robotic body, and of course the transformation cog makes them transform. But we also see this a little bit later as well in like Spotlight Optimus Prime, where he's like floating through the Matrix due to an injury from Megatron, and he transfers his consciousness to the trailer. So in that particular case, he's not using his brain module either. He transfers his whole consciousness over to the trailer. So here we have Pentius / Trypticon exchanging with Megatron about some great works they have to do to break the world. And he kind of challenges Megatron, and of course Megatron, in his usual manner,
Try me.
Meanwhile, at the Gravheron Glacier,
So we come back to Optimus and Ironhide, and they've been cautiously approaching the energy signature. They speculate on what it is: Cybertronian, some sort of structure, a super titan. He says he looks at the pose and the body language, and it's standing watch. Then they finally get a closer look at it and see the shoulder sections and the particle cannon on the arm, and they know what it is. And here we have an Omega Sentinel.
this panel right here is pretty exciting to me. I really like how they drew this, gave it the ominous feel that it needs right here. Because I think they at the beginning I think they're confused and it's an Omega Destructor. We're going to find out it's not a Destructor.
Yeah, from this one panel, you really get the sense of it. Him being like a sentinel, on watch instead of the Omega Destructors.
Yeah, and if you take a look at his face, you can actually see the face in there looking upwards.
I always loved that about Omega Supreme. There was a face in there because a lot of robots are just that's the normal head, but it's a side tangent. I always loved the fact his design, there was a face back and behind that visor.
Yeah, that was kind of the big difference between like even the old cartoons. The Sentinels, looked like they just had a glass with nothing behind it, whereas he had an actual robot head.
The ruins of Harmonex.
So again, they're still having their exchange of exactly what to do, and it appears that Trypticon is questioning Megatron's resolve, probably more or less questioning, what did he learn on Junkion? Because what he taught him was, power above all. Trypticon states, I remember cruelty, malice, and unquenchable hatred. Hatred for whom? So again, they're still conversing about what to do, a little bit of difference of opinion. Megatron states, how can I trust you? And Pentius/Trypticon gives him a vision.
I see you striding across fields of vast desolation, a lifeless primordial landscape.
That art is just so cool right there. I love the colors and everything they got there.
Looks like a giant watercolor canvas.
There was a war, a battle of gods. Is that Cybertron?
And this is Megatron musing to himself as he sees all this.
Wait, I see another world adrift in the void, broken. Its people, its dreams and aspirations scattered across the celestial winds, and devils. I see devils that prey upon entire civilizations.
Now, we discussed before that this might be what was the junk planet in Monstrosity.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. We definitely know Trypticon was on Cybertron, so we see him walking across Cybertron in the above piece. But then this broken planet was probably Junkion, because this whole vision seems to be talking about what the Quintessons have been doing and what they plan to do with Cybertron, or what Pentius plans to do with Cybertron. Five faces.
The evilest of the evil. And right here you can see this panel is just people burning and dying right here. World just dying and crumbling. To me it seems like this is the work of those devils, the Quintessons.
Yeah, they imply that they've done this over many worlds.
It is funny that they do have the Sharkticons in there. That's a normal thing for them. Like, they leave Sharkticons on the planet maybe to keep things in order, or keep things in disarray or disorder. So here we have Megatron. He's seen enough, and Trypticon's like, yep, that's okay. It's like, there's no shame in turning away from what you see. So obviously Trypticon/Pentius knew that was going to be a strong vision even for Megatron.
We got to understand that this is Megatron in his early days. A lot of the maniacal stuff that he does later on, he's building up to that.
Yeah, and it's implying here that, he doesn't, see good and evil. He sees strong and weak.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me wonder, with the way this vision is used and the way Pentius is pushing him, it makes me wonder if a lot of Megatron's actual downfall comes from the spark of Pentius.
Yeah, his message seems to have changed from the beginning, where we saw in Megatron Origins, to even now. You can start seeing it change.
As you will, Lord Megatron. So we depart. Not quite yet. The Decepticons are coming. Meanwhile, back at Grav Heron.
So here we are back at the Omega Sentinel, and Optimus tries to open a dialogue with him, and it actually speaks back and says that they're not meant to be there, that he's waiting for the Prime.
He does not recognize Optimus as being the Prime for sure.
Right. and he actually pulls his gun arm on him. And Optimus proves to him he is the Prime using the Matrix.
After he accuses him of, basically blasphemy because he's not Nova.
True, yeah.
Yeah, that implies he's been there a long time, and I kind of wonder if maybe he shut down to some kind of minimal operation while he was waiting for his return.
Yeah, and you kind of got to think that maybe everyone else thought he was lost to history because Zeta didn't do anything, Nominus didn't do anything, Sentinel didn't do anything. None of them called for Omega Supreme.
Yeah, that you would think that if they knew he was there and would have followed Prime, that they would have taken advantage of that.
Yeah, Omega Supreme is very surprised to see him bear the Matrix. I think this is where they talk about he's been waiting for Nova to come back on the Ark.
And you notice, if you read through this, you can tell that Omega Supreme doesn't have any question that's the real Matrix. Like, he's ancient enough and he is wise enough. He knows that's the real Matrix. He knows that is the current Prime. He recognizes the lineage when he sees it.
So Optimus has to explain to Omega Supreme right here. Nova and his expedition were lost millions of cycles ago, friend. Have you been standing here waiting all this time? And through the course of this, yeah, he definitely tells him that he has been waiting the whole time. Any idea how long just this may have been? Does anybody know? Maybe?
I would probably have to look up some sort of timeline somewhere because he's been there since the launch of the first arc. So that's probably millions of years. So here Optimus tells him his long watch is over. He's basically relieved of that duty and he has a new purpose for him. Omega Supreme follows that command. You say it. Here we go. So they climb aboard, and now's actually the time when they ask, what shall they call him? Supreme. I am Omega Supreme.
Meanwhile, back at Harmon X.
So here Megatron is basically gathering the Decepticons, giving them their speech, getting them ready for full-scale war. My man Blackwall, as usual.
I thought that's pretty cool how we just saw Omega Supreme do that. Now we got Trypticon doing it too.
So they plan on going out and finding all their brethren and bringing them back into the cause.
Meanwhile, above Taraxis, Ultra Magnus has dispatched Grimlock and Hot Rod aboard Skylinks to check the status and location of Trypticon's remains.
Skylink's flying overhead, and you've got Hot Rod and Grimlock. Well, Hot Rod's trying to make a little bit of talk with Grimlock, just trying to get on his level, trying to be, trying to create camaraderie. Grimlock still doesn't seem to have any of that. Hot Rod tries to, reach into him a little bit, just like not really prod him, but try to connect with him a little, telling him, we've all been through stuff. You're not the only one. And Grimlock snaps back at him a little bit.
This refinery is not Grimlock's favorite place to be with everything that happened there.
He sees it as just a big hellhole, and Hot Rod is seeing it as, this is where we're going to get our new energon from. So for me, it's hope. For Grimlock, it's a horrible, horrible memory.
If, somebody took Hot Rod back to Nyon and said, hey, this is our new hope, he'd not be in a good mood either.
Yeah, I think there's a level of just needing to get respect from each other. And I think you're going to find this through the test of war and battle. I think that you'll see these two come together. But right now, it's just not going to happen.
So here's where Grimlock snaps back at him regarding his remark about guilt and pain. And they get in each other's face just a little bit. And Hot Rod, actually pushes back just a little bit, which, if you know Grimlock, that is something Grimlock actually respects a little bit.
Yeah, right here, you can see the horror on their face because right now they're flying right over where Trypticon is supposed to be, and he is not there anymore. At that moment.
So Megatron seated on his throne inside of Trypticon, and they are set to fly in their flying city. So yeah, we got a shot of him above Cybertron there. This is art by Sarah Stone. This may have been the other cover, the alternate cover for this.
Right. I always like the art is very. I find myself taking long to read stuff because I actually stare at all the pictures and the art.
Do you feel like this particular design looks a lot like Transformers Prime, Optimus Prime? Kind of the V shape, the narrower hips.
The midsection only, yes. The midsection, the upper legs, I do.
Yeah, the head definitely doesn't look like it. This still looks like the later IDW head. But this would probably be that part where he's opening his chest to show Omega Supreme. So, and then we've got this other art by Livio, and it's Metroplex. This is kind of a different work of art. No, it's got all the lines through it, like it looks almost like a hologram.
It's very autocracy-ish to me.
Yeah. It's a real good look for Grimlock.
Roll out.